My name is Karn Nichols, and I'm the Executive Director of CMHA Nova Scotia Division. I really appreciate your participation this evening for a lot of reasons. One is that you're here. It's a beautiful night out, and I appreciate that we're competing against the beautiful weather. But mostly because I know that everything we learn about mental health, it supports and destigmatizes it in society. And it's only through this destigmatization that we can truly create communities where everybody is treated equitably and communities where everybody feels safe to get help in the same way they would for a physical ailment. So a little bit about the division. We've been around since 1918 and are part of the most extensive community mental health organizations in the province. We are part of a federation, which means we have national presence as well as local grassroots presence through our branches. We are proud to work with branches such as the Colchester branch, which we did a wonderful workshop earlier on today on grief, Halifax, Dartmouth, and Southwest Nova. And all together, we support the mental health needs of all Nova Scotians throughout the province through education, through advocacy, and through navigation of the system itself. And as a little postscript to this conversation, we are not the Mental Health Foundation, which has an entirely different mandate, but we do intersect with their work in different ways. So without further ado, let's get on with the evening. So on behalf of the staff and the board of CMHA Nova Scotia Division, I'm so happy to welcome you to the Road to Recovery with Keith Anderson and Ryan Gould. Tonight's session is the second in our Mental Health Week speaker series, Empathy in Action. So the Canadian Mental Health Association has been hosting Mental Health Week for 71 years. Can you believe it? It takes place each year during the first full week of May. The goal of the Mental Health Week is to promote knowledge and attitudes that support meaningful social change, which to me makes it so fitting that this theme this year is empathy. And why? Because empathy can help us know ourselves and our feelings. It can help us lead, it can help us communicate, it can help us support and connect with others. It can help us connect at home, at work, and at school. Empathy is what gives stories their power in advocacy as well. No group of people demonstrate that more than the folks who have generously given their time this evening to share their stories and throughout the week. Our lineup this week is quite extensive. It includes mental health advocates such as Sam Ador, who we heard earlier on today. Also Anna Kwan, Michael Deviney, Gabby Scollard, Mayor Pam Mood, who we'll be meeting with tomorrow, and Shauna Jewer. And so after the session, I encourage you to visit our website, perhaps at www.novascotia.cmha.ca, and learn more about the sessions that are going to take place this week. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our guests. Keith Anderson, whom I work with every day, and Ryan Gould, who is a long-term friend and ally with the CMHA Nova Scotia Division. Keith and Ryan both belong to an online community called Worth Living, and they've shared their stories in a book called Life Worth Living, a mental health anthology. So tonight, Keith and Ryan will courageously shine their insights about depression, addiction, and mental illness from a lived experience perspective, which is extremely valuable in prevention planning, treatment, and education. And it helps us spread the message that recovery really is possible. Now, what I'm going to do is turn this over to Keith and Ryan to tell you a little bit about themselves, and then following that, we'll get into some questions and answers. So over to you, Keith. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Okay. Thank you, Karn. Okay. Thanks for the invitation to be here tonight for sure. And thanks for everybody, coming. My journey, every time I do a presentation, okay, I always think it's the same journey that I'll discuss, okay, but it changes, okay. Something may have happened this morning, okay, that would change my presentation this evening, for example, okay. So I'll go back to sort of the beginning, if you will. Okay, I'll start there. I guess a good place to start, I'd say. Childhood, normal, from what I can tell. Okay, teenage years, the same. Okay, pretty normal. University days, wonderful. Life in my 20s, phenomenal. Okay, lots of opportunities professionally, personally, just flying very high. Then February 23rd, 1992, my life changed. Okay, my father died at age 59. My mother was a widow at the age of 53. I was 31 at the time. His death changed my everyday life, my mother's everyday life, my family, my sister, husband, and children, their everyday lives as well. Okay. And I noticed things changed in my life at that time. Okay. It took a number of years. I didn't get it. I didn't recognize depression. Okay. Now we're talking 20 years ago as well. Okay. So, there were no events like this for sure. Okay. It wasn't mentioned, to a great extent. Okay. My profession as a lawyer wasn't mentioned at all for sure. Okay. And I just had a horrible, miserable life. Okay. I wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating very well. I cut off relationships. I'd have lunch by myself. Okay. I'd go through Tim Hortons drive-through, pick up a plain bagel because I deserve nothing further, nothing more, and a bottle of water, and then hide in the Walmart parking lot, hoping nobody would see me as I had my big lunch. So there were certainly signs that something was off. Okay, I was thick at it. I didn't get it. Okay, I would just each day keep going. Okay, pull in the parking lot of work in the morning, 8 o'clock, take a deep breath, go to work, practice law for 10 hours, and drive home in tears. Okay, not sleeping, not eating. It was difficult. It was challenging. Okay, on March 7th of 2003, I was diagnosed with severe clinical depression by my family doctor of 35 years. Still didn't get it. I knew something was desperately wrong, though, that's for sure. That Tuesday evening, 5 days later, I had what I call a mental health breakdown at my sister's house in Halifax. And I just came undone, her coach. Evening. Okay, the pressures, the anxiety was ramping up. And the big problem I had, and when I look back now, why I didn't sort of get it and understand it, my life as a lawyer was very well planned out, logically thinking. Okay, that's how I thought. Checklists and procedures and protocols. My head was framed on that. Okay, depression doesn't. There's no logic to it. It doesn't fit into my brain at least. Okay, and I was missing it. Okay. Had a breakdown, as I said. Okay, took years of recovery. Therapy once a week for 2 years, once a month for a year and a half afterwards. Close family, my mother, my sister, husband, and my niece and nephew. Okay, phenomenally supportive, understanding, and also they understood as well. Okay, came to learn. Okay, what depression was, anxiety, and so on. Phenomenal therapist, like I mentioned, okay, weekly. She and I just clicked. And her office where she worked in residence was on Robie Street in Halifax, just around the corner from the law school. Okay, so it was kind of familiar turf, I think. I think that kind of helped. Okay, I could pull up in the morning to meet with her and park like in front of the law school some days, and it just felt familiar. And that was the first step. Okay, I had 2 friends come forward. That's it. Just 2. I'm a lawyer in Sydney. It's not a big city, as we all know. Okay. I had all kinds of friends, I thought, colleagues. Now I think if I had cancer or heart attack, it would make you at lunchtime and after work to come visit me. Okay. Depression, no, nothing. Okay, 2. And the 2 who came forward we're now inner core friends. They're sort of like, beyond, great guys, great people. And they both said to me, Keith, don't know what we can do, but we'll figure it out. Okay, and that meant the world to me. Okay, the 2 people, came forth, and one guy, Frank, okay, he was just picked me up some hour thing before driving in the city. Okay, to get out of the house after being in the house for years was super. Okay, he was just so kind and helpful. A simple thing like a drawing was huge to me. A bit tough at times to rationalize it. can I get back to this logic of thinking of me from being able to practice law in a courtroom for a trial for 5 days, and then no fear, no nothing, okay, to I can't leave my house. Okay, a driver in the city is a big treat. And that's sort of another big step, okay, with supports. But one thing I'm really proud of, I worked hard at it myself too. I made efforts, okay. It didn't come easy. Some days I didn't succeed at it, okay. Like to go for a walk, for example. That was a big step in my recovery as well, to get out, the fresh air, okay. To go to park, maybe see somebody who said hi to me. I might see some wildlife. I might see the ocean. I might whatever. Okay, the conversation in my mind would change because I was outside, and stimulated by different things than in my bedroom. Okay, with my laptop. Okay, my TV and my iPad. Okay, there's a bigger world out there, but to get to that world, it takes big efforts. Okay, so yeah, the walking was huge. Okay, that was a big help. And I remember one night, okay, and this is the learning process, okay. I checked out CMHA's website. I didn't know what CMHA was back then, and I came out to the page about depression, and it's like about 8 symptoms, okay, and I checked them all off. It was sort of comforting that I fit into, it's an illness, and this is how it works. I fit into that. But very unsettling, thinking I was that ill that I matched up all their checklist items. Okay, and it was like, ooh, I mean, but it gave me, okay, I'm sick now. Okay, I'm getting some help. Let's strive for more. Okay, a bigger, healthier life, and that's what I went for. Okay, CMHA, and I've said this to some people here know this little bit of my journey, okay, and it's actual because it happened years ago before I came back to CMHA, okay. CMHA Nova Scotia is a special place for me, okay. I wrote an article about my journey years ago, okay, called "How I Returned to Life for a Living." The Britain Post ignored it. The Herald newspaper in Halifax ignored it, so it's sent to the National Post, and they published it. And I came back and I sent it to Carol Touton, the director of CMHA Nova Scotia, way back then, in 2008 it was. And she reached out and we talked, okay, off and on for a long time. Okay, she invited me to join some committees. She just asked me to speak at their national conference, okay, that year. Now, somebody outside my family was recognizing what I'd been through, what I had experienced, okay, and again, she was understanding and understood what the dark days of my life, as I call them. Okay, so it's a big part of my recovery, okay, with CMHA. I've been hanging around for a while, okay. I came back a few years ago, okay. I'm happy to be here, that's for sure. I don't know how the time is going, okay. I mean, I can talk for a long run, as people here know. It's a journey, okay. It's not linear, that's for sure, okay. Which took me some time to figure out as well, okay. I may make some progress today, may get set back, tomorrow, okay. And one thing and this is what can set one back, okay, in this journey. One morning I got up, okay, and I'm gonna go to Sobeys today, get some groceries. Huge step. Okay, for me to go out was one thing. To go to Sobeys to get groceries was just wow. Okay, I'm celebrated. Okay, look what I did today. So I'm going to Sobeys. I'm in the store. I've got a cart and I've got a few items in it. I walk down an aisle. I see the woman walking towards me. We'll call her Rita, okay, because that's her name. And she's walking towards me, and I had known Rita for years. Okay, her husband and I had done some work together over the years. Okay, just we had done a lot, business wise and so on. Okay, so I thought, oh, somebody, and Rita's a hugger. She always hugged me. Okay, And I thought, oh, someone's going to, someone's going to greet me. Pardon me. Someone's going to greet me with Walker, I haven't seen you for years, kind of thing. This whole, we were about, I'd say 2 meters apart. She saw me. She turned on her heel and left me. Okay, now we've all been snubbed, I'm sure, over the years. Okay. This was like being snubbed by 1,000 times. Okay. Here I was, kind of getting my confidence, being able to get out in the world and so on, experience people and such, and say hello and be greeted back and so on. And this person who I fully expected to greet me well, okay, turned on her heel and walked away. So I'm standing in the aisle. I leave my cart. I return home. I don't go outside for another month. Okay, because she crushed me. Okay, she just shattered me. Okay, any confidence I had was gone. And it took a long time, a full month to sort of venture out again. Okay, because with my depression, I had no confidence, no self-esteem or self-worth, little self-respect, all shattered. Okay, and I had balance of that. Okay, prior to. So and it took a while after that incident to kind of risk it again, if you will. I'll use that term. Okay, to go out again and hopefully see somebody who's kind. Okay, who's empathetic, perhaps. Okay, now empathy, I know is the theme of the week. Okay, a new word for me, new concept for me after my breakdown. Not a word I've known before. Okay, I made this joke before, sort of. Okay, lawyers, empathy don't go together. Okay, that's just not our world. Okay, I mean, if we see somebody else is not having a good day, my role is to take advantage of that, if you will, on behalf of my client. Okay, not the way to think about the world, but that's what lawyers kind of do. Okay, that's our profession. That's how we have an obligation to our client to do the best work that we can on their behalf. So empathy, I never even thought of the word before. To understand it. Okay. And there's still times I kind of have to process a little bit, okay, to have this, I was always kind, I think. I was always thoughtful. Empathy was a different level, perhaps. Okay, so I learned that. Okay, in my role as in peer support for CMHA now, it's part of my daily life, my daily work, and so on. Okay, but yeah, and I mentioned a couple of times. Okay, the idea of understanding. Okay, and understood. Okay, I have a dear friend of mine. Okay, she has depression terribly every day. Okay, and I asked her when they were talking, like, your husband, like, how does that work? Okay, with your depression. Okay, and her comment was just that: he's understanding, very supportive and helpful, but he doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it. Doesn't understand what she's really going through. Okay, and that's something I think ought to be sort of acknowledged and discussed in certain quarters. Okay, that this notion of great to get the support, but also great to have somebody who understands what you're going through as well. Okay, and I think my background in peer support is just that. Okay, the empathy is a huge part of what we do. I had great occasion of late to meet Ryan. Okay, who I consider to be a dear friend now. The last, I can say, 4 years or so now. Okay, we've done a lot of work together. Okay, we've shared a fair bit. Okay, and I've learned through him, through what he has said. Okay, with his journey. Okay, and our journeys are completely different, no question. What he wrote in the book, okay, and my chapter, completely different. Okay, but common language, common experiences. Okay, and that's where the empathy part will kick in. Okay, it's just the connection. Okay, with people who know the dark days, as I said, I call them. Okay, When that connection is made, it's a connection. There's just certain understanding. Okay. I remember after my father had died. Okay. And I ran into a colleague of mine, a lawyer. She worked at legal aid here. Okay. And I knew that she had lost her mother quite young. Okay. She came up to me, looked at me, and just hugged me. Didn't say a word to me. Okay. But we had that connection. Okay. That common loss of a parent at a young age. You know, and that's what I hope we're trying to get through here tonight. Okay, a connection of some type. It can be challenging, okay, especially on Zoom, as we all know. But we can still do it. You know, I get emotional sometimes when I speak about this. That's why I have the water. Okay, it gives me that moment to catch my breath. But it became part of my recovery. And okay, hey, Lloyd, yes, yeah, good to see. But part of my recovery as well. I didn't leave the house without a bottle of water. It had to be ice cold as well. Okay, I may not drink it necessarily, but I needed to have it. Okay, that was part of my support system was the bottle of water. You know, so I still kind of do it, as my colleagues know, every day. Okay, every meeting that I attend, I have my water. Okay, because my mouth will go dry perhaps during these kind of discussions. It's emotional, it's deep, it's personal. And years ago, I tend to be a private person. My personal life was just that, it was personal, and nobody go there. Okay, whereas now I share a fair bit of it, not everything. Okay, I mean some of it we don't. Okay, we there's parts of my life that I'll never rethink. Okay, I'll never want to go there myself. Okay, so and I'm probably rambling too long. I don't know. Okay, but I'll shut down now, and I'll invite my friend Ryan to have a chat.
And I just want to say thank you so much, Keith. I know it takes a lot of courage to speak publicly about those deep thoughts, but I know that there'll be a little sliver of many parts of your story that will resonate with people and make a big difference. So thank you for that. So thanks, and over to you, Ryan.
Thank you very much, Karn. Thank you, Keith, for mentioning, our relationship over the years, and also having the courage to share some of your story and hopes of helping others out there. Very blessed to have this opportunity and very honored to be here and to be doing this work with all of you and with the Canadian Mental Health Association. I feel like in my journey, it's just been that extra boost, and I feel that just through the work that I've been doing over the years that a lot of people are taking, most of it very, very serious now. And I'm very proud of that. And it kind of gives me that energy, that momentum to keep going. So thank you. My name is Ryan Gould. I'm Mi'kmaq, and I'm from the community of Membertou, born and raised. I'm the father of 6 beautiful daughters whom I love dearly, and they definitely keep me busy. The proud owner of Rusty Pipes Plumbing and Heating, which is a company that I started about 3 years ago here in my community. I'm a certified journeyman plumber by trade, so it's my passion, and I'm very proud of providing a service to my community as well as employment to other people along their journey. The apprenticeship coordinator for the Mi'kmaq Economic Benefits Office. And so I kind of mentor and I guide apprentices along their journey to certification, providing them with different supports and services, Mi'kmaq language translation, math tutoring services, and identifying barriers that I've encountered over the years and along my journey. And that seems to be a big part of my journey right across the board, is that identifying my barriers and overcoming my barriers. I wanted to help those coming behind me, to have that upper hand or just a better understanding. Also a mental health consultant and strategist for the Worth Living team. which is run by Keith Anderson here, and there's more of on the team as well. But very honored to have that role. That's very like brand new. I'm also on the board for the Three Brothers Project, which is another organization and member to that promotes men's mental health through physical activity, and they have a lot of a lot of events going on in the community. So again, it's just great to be a part of that group as well, and to see this work kind of catching on with different organizations. The Diverse Communities Committee with the PC Party have reached out, so I just provide some insight and then input on some of the work that's going on in our community from an Indigenous perspective. The Breton Ability Center, I'm also on that board. Very, very empathetic and passionate about helping people, underrepresented groups or people with disabilities, Indigenous tradespeople, African Nova Scotian, and women in trades. That's kind of my role as well as apprenticeship coordinator, is to advocate for the underrepresented groups. And I believe that employment is a huge factor in battling mental health issues and poverty as well. Roots of Hope is another group that has reached out to me. And I've just kind of became more comfortable these past few years with talking about suicide and the role that it's played in my life. And I think it was just with the Bell Let's Talk movement, kind of reading stories. And as Keith mentioned, I was reading stories, and it was thoughts in my mind that were very similar. So when I read this story of this individual, I felt like I wasn't alone, and I cried, and I just felt so understood, and I felt such a sense of relief in being able to talk about it, that it never held that power over me anymore. So yeah, very, very passionate about the Roots of Hope. And again, just everybody that's reaching out and getting me to do this work. I try to keep everything balanced, which was another thing that I had to kind of, identify my boundaries and have limits as to what I can complete in my time with my family. And so I just kind of have to balance everything in a healthy way. But it is very important to stay moving and to have these projects and to take advantage of these opportunities that I may not have taken advantage of while I was in my addicted state or in a depression. So yeah, I like to celebrate that a lot. And I'm the president of the Member to Men's Society, which probably leads me here today. And with all of this work going on, I've been doing that work for about 4 years now. It's a nonprofit organization that we began in our community. Myself and a group of childhood friends came together. Single fathers, people that were losing, we were losing our friends to addictions and suicide and people being murdered. So yeah, we just kind of like identified a bunch of barriers. I myself lost my daughters to child services, which was my ultimate bottom. And that was when I wanted to kind of switch my life around, get back on track. And a part of doing that was identifying my traumas and my upbringing. So I had to go back to deal with all of that. And in the process, I gained this strength to want to help others in the community. Yeah, so we just wanted to create a safe, inclusive environment where men in all circumstances, it didn't matter if you were, down and out, or if you were, feeling well and you battled addiction and you're kind of, gained that upper hand. It was just whatever circumstances you were in, we wanted to open that door and have a safe, inclusive environment. Where men can go and speak about their emotions or the help that they needed without being seen as being weak or vulnerable, and kind of being around others that were also sharing their current circumstances, right? So yeah, we wanted to, I guess, end the stigma of men not being able to express their emotions or talk about how they feel. We wanted to end the stigma of how our communities were labeling and shaming people struggling with addictions and mental health, and in most cases, just simply grieving. And but we also wanted to preserve our culture as well, reach out to elders and kind of identify our purpose and our role in the Mi'kmaq culture so that we can become better mentors, better fathers, more supportive husbands, boyfriends, and just really kind of break that cycle. And yeah, and we wanted, and by doing that, it would, help prevent the murdered and missing Indigenous men and women. And yeah, we really just wanted to kind of get involved in the community, organize charitable fundraisers, community-based events that would kind of cultural events where we would have an opportunity to bond with other groups, such as the elders groups, the women's groups, and the children's groups. And now with the group for the men, we kind of completed that circle of support. So now, when we have events or when we have, activities going on in the community, we're all able to reach out to each other's groups and come together and do what it takes to get these events taken care of. And to, I guess, we pulled off a lot of successful events in the community for children, and that's what we try to focus on, is to provide opportunities to the, I guess, less fortunate children that may not get to experience certain things. Taking them up to the Highlands or taking them out to Glooscap's Cave, Screaming Eagles games. We've taken them. We had free bowling at the lanes. We did a movie night at the track. So we always try to incorporate all of the other groups as well, and just kind of take care of, everyone in the community. We try not to exclude any groups. We'll always kind of, if we do an elders event, then the next we'll kind of focus on the women's groups, and so on and so forth. And another big, influence in starting the group I mentioned before was losing close childhood friends and family members to murder, overdose, and suicide. And I buried a couple of close friends of mine. And it was just, I got sick of the life that I was living. I lost my daughters to child services as well, and it was just too much for me to grasp. And I knew things had to change. And so that was when I made the effort to kind of reach out and build a circle of support, I guess. And I reached out to the local support groups like the AA group and the NA groups. And we wanted to kind of just take a different approach in that, there was no recommendations. Like you didn't have to be sober, or you didn't have to you could be using methadone, or you could be drinking the night before, or even the day of. We wanted to have our group meetings kind of open to anyone in the community at all, no matter what their circumstances were, and just not exclude anyone. And at least we can then hear what's on their mind, what they have on their chest, what they're, if they wanted to vent, or the circumstances they were in. And a lot of men in the group, we've kind of dealt with those circumstances, or we've reached out to the community at some point. So oftentimes when they hear us sharing stories and they share what they're going through, they know that we've either accessed support at some point and we can share that same path, or we'll make an effort to kind of arrange them to access professional help from a therapist. We have addictions counselors. And again, we have the, the NA groups and the AA groups. So again, I know we don't have much time tonight, or not as much time as I'd like to have, but I will kind of touch a bit on my upbringing and my story. So I grew up in a home where I seen a lot of drug and alcohol abuse and domestic violence, which really shaped and molded the type of personality I had, the decisions I made in life. And I always seen my family struggling with addictions. And sometimes they were doing well with it, and they were in detox facilities, and I'd go visit them, and other times they weren't, and there was some very violent scenarios, and some very, very scary moments in my home. So I kind of seen a lot of that growing up, but I did see the efforts in them trying to become sober, and to create memories, and to I guess, yeah, they tried the spiritual approach. And my stepfather, he started to he joined a drum group, and he started to learn the Mi'kmaq songs, and started to do beadwork and everything. So I was experimenting with that, as well as Christianity and my Catholic religion. So I've always maintained both. And it's just whatever circumstances I was in my life. So earlier on, when I was younger, I felt more comfortable trying to celebrate who I was, and with my Indigenous heritage. But as I grew older, there was still a lot of violence and drinking in the home. So it was like all these hopes and dreams that I had growing up didn't really pay off or pan out. So I kind of lost hope, and I pushed myself away from the cultural teachings and ways of healing. And I kind of focused more on my Catholic upbringing, and, praying to Jesus Christ, and to help me when my life was really tough at that time. And it got to the point where it was just too bad, and I couldn't do it anymore. I was always trying to play the role of the hero in the home. So I would be forced to kind of find my younger brother, and try to protect him when our parents would be fighting, and hide in a room with him. I also would try to make all the sports teams, all the AAA teams, and be the best athlete I could, and always pushed myself to make my parents proud, hoping that the chaos and the addictions would stop. But it wasn't the case. It was never going to happen that way. And the other thing was in school too. I was very strict with myself. My mother was strict with myself, so I was on the Gould honor roll, and always thinking that if I maintain this 90 average, that my parents are going to be so happy, and we're going to live in this happy home, and everything's going to be back to normal, right? Which wasn't the case. I I ended up having to leave at the age of 15. And, there was, it was just a very tough time to leave my family. There was thoughts of suicide, but I reached out to my aunt. I ended up getting help, and the professional help that I needed. And, but I did move out on my own, and I had a family at a young age. That kind of kept me busy. And yeah, I was just always focusing on my plumbing career, and traveling to Alberta. I did some work out there, but I was always pursuing my career, and trying to provide the best upbringing and the best environment I could for my daughters. Which was why I was so devastated when my addictions finally caught up to me, about 5 years ago, I would say. And on top of that, I lost my daughter to child services. I'd lost two of my close childhood friends to addictions within a span of 6 months. I went to both funerals. So yeah, there was just, so much loss and so much tragedy in my life. But I don't know. When I started to dig my way out, and when I found out about how much support was there, and what was on the other side of this life of sobriety and love, and developing a stronger relationship with my daughters, it just kind of grew on me. And I mean, it wasn't the most exciting lifestyle in the beginning, but opportunities came knocking. And with each opportunity that I would take, it would kind of grow on to me, and it would unlock more opportunities, and I'd meet just so many amazing people and supportive people along my journey. And that's where I'm at now. I like to share my story. I became more comfortable with public speaking, sharing my thoughts and my views and my experiences with suicide. And just really getting the message out there to men, whether you're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, that it's okay to speak about your emotions and to really to reach out and get the professional help that we need so that we can become the men that we deserve to be, and live the lives that we deserve to live with our families. And yeah, I think my time is probably just about up. It's looking like it's the 17-minute mark. So I'll go easy on you today. But
You
thank
owe,
you very
you,
much for your time.
Ryan, you owe us 2 minutes.
I'll
No.
make it up to you.
It's all good. First of all, I want to again say thank you so much for speaking from your heart. I'm always appreciative of authentic conversation, because I just believe it gives us all permission to do the same wherever we are in life, and I think that is just a gift to everybody. So thank you both for doing that. The other thing I wanted to mention, Ryan, is that we've known each other for a few months, not a long time, but every single time we connect and whatever we're doing, what I love and appreciate about you is how you just lean fully into any conversation and give fully of yourself in that conversation. And I just think that's a beautiful thing. So thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karn.
Yeah. So I wanted to just start the conversation for the time that we have left by celebrating just the fact that you're both here, and what a gift to us all, and what a gift to the people that you meet every day. So thank you for that. In each of your stories, your road to recovery was not straight. You know, there was a lot of twists and turns and bumps along the way, setbacks sometimes. And what I'm curious about is, what is it within you that kept you moving forward, taking that next step forward, even though you might have been pushed back from time to time? What is it within that gave you the courage to keep moving forward? And I'll start with Ryan. How about that?
Um, yeah, so I was really frustrated, and I was really hurt when I lost my friends. And it wasn't the best scenario, but it more or less kind of shoved me to give me that courage to want to speak on the topic and to share my story. So if it could prevent me from burying another one of my brothers, then I was all in. And I often prayed to them, the brothers that I lost and sisters that aren't here, to give me strength on the day of, when I do a public speech, or when I'm on a Zoom, or I prayed to them to give me the courage to share my story, because of them not being here. And it was just also the response from the community, and from others out there that I had no idea were listening. And it's just it's such a simple gesture, I guess, to share your story, but I guess the response and the support from people was just so powerful. And I mean, from like elders and doctors and teachers, and almost everybody always reach out to me, can identify a male in their life that they wish had a safe, inclusive environment, or wish they got the help that they need, so that they didn't have to live the life that they may have, right? And but it was early on, I watched a documentary on it was the Ryan Gillis story. And when I watched the Ryan Gillis story, like, his message was just him sharing his story and his experiences, but doing it to help others. And he explained that it does have an impact. And so ever since then, I just kind of took it and ran with it. And now it's the response. It's like that fire that I need. It's when people comment, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of a system that fuels itself. So every time you kind of get to a point, you're giving out, it's giving back to you, so that you can continue to move forward, right? Yeah, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. Keith, what about you? What keeps you moving forward?
And you mentioned it sort of in before you had the question, just earlier there, Karn. I'm grateful. Okay, gratitude to me is, I sometimes call it a pillar of my life, or a foundation. It's kind of the same in my head, I guess. Okay, And I'm grateful I'm still here. Because many nights in those dark days, okay, usually in the middle of the night when it was all alone, okay, I didn't know I'd make it through the night. Okay, so for me to be here is phenomenal. Okay, and every day within myself, I acknowledge that I'm grateful to still be here. You know, to spend an evening with all of you tonight. Okay, huge. For me to be grateful for. Okay, other big pillar in my life is hope. And for me, hope is I didn't have it for many years. Okay, in those dark days, I had no hope whatsoever. I thought my life was done. Okay, I lost pretty much everything. My family had hope for me, and because of our connection, okay, the love that we had and the trust and understanding that we had, I kind of went and said, okay, if they think I have hope, then I'll go with that for now. Okay, maybe one day I'll feel the same. Okay, and for years, and there's still days and still moments. Okay, I'm hopeful that, if I have a rough day, okay, I had a rough weekend. Okay, just some personal stuff. Okay, and I'm still hopeful for tomorrow, for a better day perhaps. Okay, and I got up this morning. Okay, and I addressed the weekend situation. Not nice. Okay, not nice. But by noon hour, I was feeling a bit relieved, a bit hopeful. The hope was coming back that I was going to have a good day, and I did. Okay, the afternoon was very good. Okay, and I just this sense of hope. Okay, for a better, healthier life. It's just huge. Okay, those are the two things that keep me going pretty much.
Yeah, that's great. Beyond, do you have a gratitude practice that you have, or is it basically sort of waking up in the morning and just sort of saying, I'm happy I'm here?
Yeah, the mornings, okay, even through the day. If something good happens, I celebrate it. Okay. And it's such a big thing for me to celebrate because I didn't for so long.
Right.
Okay. And like I celebrate a good afternoon perhaps, or a good phone call, or a good meeting that we may have. Okay. And that kind of just sort of kind of is part of what I go through, the process, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
And there are times I'm quite blunt with myself, saying, okay, I feel good, I'm grateful I'm here. Okay. When I tend to come to meetings a bit early if I can, and I'll sit here for maybe a couple of minutes by myself in front of my computer and kind of take a breath and go, okay, this is good. Okay, Monday, it's a good day. Okay, and I kind of just collect myself, okay, and appreciate where I am, what I have. Yeah. Okay, and then I go forth into the meeting with a good attitude. Okay, yeah. with a sense of confidence and self-respect and self-worth that, again, used to be common in my life, and then it was absent for many years.
Right. Yeah. I love that. It's about, it's about being present in the moment and appreciating what's right here, right now. Right. So I know that there are some folks that are listening to the stories that are currently supporting someone. Now, you both spoke about the importance of having a network and friends that would support you. And sometimes they were few and far between, as we heard in Keith's story in particular. So those of you, or for those of us who are sort of supporting friends who are experiencing mental health challenges, and we're looking for ways to help, ways to show up as a good friend, can you tell me, based on your experience, what would your advice be to those folks? How to be a good friend to someone in need? And either or.
Okay. For me, keep the connection. Okay. Don't lose hope. Okay. In that person who's not well. Okay. Keep that connection, because that person who's not well, and I come from my experience. Okay. I always knew my family was there because they showed it. They demonstrated it. Okay. And I knew the family members who were not there. Okay, and the friends who were not there. Okay, but I remember, my mother, my sister, husband, and kids, like I said, they were there for me. Okay, and even though I wasn't able to respond in any great positive way, they knew the connection was still there. Okay, and they were hopeful for me. They were supportive. They were, wanting me to get to a better place. And so you maintain that connection with the person. Okay, even the worst of days. Okay, because I held on to them in so many levels, so many ways.
It's about the consistency, I suspect, as well, right?
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Ryan? What's your
So
advice?
like if there's two things that I would want anyone to know having a hard time is that Keith took the words like right out of my mouth there, connection and hope, right? So like that sense, I just always want to provide a sense of connection and hope. So that sense of connection is to let somebody know that they're never alone, right? I had so much love and support and amazing resources right under my nose my whole journey. And I always did have people like my mother, my brother, cousins, people just asking, have you ever considered maybe someday sobering up? Or don't you think the drinking's, it's getting a little old or it's causing a lot of headache? And, I would just kind of brush them off, right? And now looking back, like for them to always be trying to plant that seed or make that effort for me,
Right.
oh, I'm even just a little emotional right now thinking about it, but I'm so grateful that they always made that attempt. And that right now really proves to me that they loved me during my ugliest state and they were always there for me. So if I wanted to let anybody know anything in recovery or that's having a tough time is that, there's always hope and that you're never alone. So I pushed myself away from all the love and support that I had access to out of respect. I wanted to wreck myself in my own life. I didn't want anyone to be concerned for me. I wanted to take care of my daughters and my family and then go hide out and kind of drink and black out and, do cocaine. And so it was like self-harm to myself, but I respected all the love and support around me. And I just didn't want to be around it. But now looking back, I can actually feel, I can cry, I can talk, I can sit down with my daughters and I can listen to what they go through in the run of a day with their friends and the heart to hearts. It's just unbelievable. And I think right now that's my biggest measure of where I'm at in my journey is the conversation and relationships I have now with my daughters and to be a positive role model in their life, to let them know that, like Keith mentioned, we do have our bad days, I'll never, it's inevitable. They're always there. They're always coming. But what we can control and what we can change is how we handle them, how we kind of take it on, I guess. And I'm in a better spot now than I was, and it's just like I said, it's all about having things in place now so that I can handle those thoughts and now I built so much love for myself that now when I have those negative thoughts of suicide or of addiction, I can come in right away and I battle those thoughts. So those thoughts are always there. They'll never ever change. That's from a childhood of trauma and everything, right? They're always going to be there, but I can counteract now because of how much love I've given to myself and my family. So now when I hear those thoughts or I have this negative feeling kind of creeping in, I come back and I make sure I do things now. I practice my new program and I say, no, like not today, like that you got no business thinking like that. And it's not as bad as it seems. And I can turn it off and on now. I've gotten better the more I practice controlling my mind. Then it's just like a muscle, I guess. I just gotten better at it. So now I defend myself against my own thoughts. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And I hear Keith is kind of going, yeah. It's that what I love is that sort of analogy with the muscle, but you have to keep exercising it, right? And so, and what I've heard you say, we have to wrap up, unfortunately, but what I think the underpinning to something that you've both said is the unconditional love that comes from community and the self-compassion for self that comes from you. And those are sort of the two ingredients that allow you to really, combat these feelings and sensations and think the way you think, at those times, I guess. So anyway, thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing your stories with us tonight. I know it's not easy to be vulnerable, but your courage is what brings so many other people hope. And as I said before, it really is a gift. If there's anyone who would like to learn more from the people with lived experience, I've got a book in my bookshelf of The Life Worth Living, a mental health anthology. It's a great read. It's got stories from many different worldviews and perspectives that I know you'll all benefit from. If you are feeling like you need support after we log off tonight, that sometimes happens, please call the Crisis Service Canada at 1-833-456-4566 or the Nova Scotia Mental Health and Addictions Crisis Line at 1-888-429-8167, and that's available 24/7. And I'd also like to thank Patricia for being in the wings for us. Thank you so much. It's so nice to see you. And also Erin for being the little magic person in the background, making us all look so good. So thanks for all for joining us this evening. Be sure to visit our website, www.novascotia.cmha.ca, and learn more about the rest of the sessions coming up this week. Thanks so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you maybe in future sessions down the road.